It is a few minutes to 4 o'clock East African time. Good afternoon and welcome to News Now right here on TV47, the home of untold stories. I am George Maringa, and for the next half hour or so, we shall be bringing you up to date with what's making headlines from across the country and beyond. But first, here is a glimpse of our top stories. Among the top stories making headlines at this hour, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua leads calls to the youth-led protests to stop, citing the state's willingness to make adjustments.
Observe peace and keep away from violence. The young generation, Gen Z, as your father, my sons and daughters, we have heard you.
His views echoed by different groups, including the Christian and Muslim clergy. Anger, pain, and grief dominate the requiem mass of the late Rex Masai, who was among the first casualties of the Gen Z protests. The late Masai will be buried this weekend. And police disarm a large group of youth armed with crude weapons who are part of a vigilante gang and impound over 30 weapons in an exercise in Kitengela, Kajiado County. We thank you for choosing TV47 to inform you. At George Maringa _ is the handle across all the socials. Use the hashtag #NewsNow. You can also post to @TV47 News. We thank you for joining us. Police officers in Kitengela, Kajiado County have this morning disarmed a group of youths armed with crude weapons acting as security to protect an entertainment joint in Kitengela. The group of more than 30 young men who were armed with crude weapons, including pangas, maintained that they were hired to offer security to the entertainment joint that was among businesses in Kitengela that suffered looting and destruction during Tuesday's protests. However, according to the police, there is no justification to breach security protocols by hiring civilians to act as security officers.
We were doing this because we did not know that they will come. Now they are here. Let us put down the whatever we have. Madam here has assured me that security today, we can rely on them. So if anything happens, then they take the blame.
Now, the Cabinet has held a meeting today, the first since the advent of the protests. The meeting was chaired by President William Ruto and attended by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and all Cabinet secretaries. According to a dispatch, Cabinet was briefed on the security situation in the country following days of riots. The meeting was informed that though the riots started as a protest against the tax measures proposed in the Finance Bill 2024, they were infiltrated, hijacked and taken over by criminal and opportunistic political forces. The Cabinet also called for action against those who have committed heinous crimes of arson, looting and robbery, among others, saying such atrocities must not go unpunished. On the withdrawn finance bill, President Ruto said the National Treasury is reorganizing the budget to accommodate the new reality. This will include substantial cutting down of budgets to quote-unquote balance between what to be implemented and what can wait, and ensuring that key national programs are not affected. Now, the Deputy President, that is Rigathi Gachagua, has pleaded with Gen Z to call off demonstrations since the government has listened to them and mechanisms to address their issues are being put in place. The Deputy noted that what started as peaceful protests have now been infiltrated by goons who are looting and destroying property. The DP pleading with the youth not to engage in demonstrations that will hinder the country's development.
As a leader of this country, I want to call for peace and calm. I want to say that this is our own country, we have no other country. And I want to ask the people of Kenya to make peace, observe peace, and keep away from violence. The young generation, Gen Z, as your father, my sons and daughters, we have heard you. You've spoken very clearly. The message is home. What you started as peaceful protests, unfortunately, have been infiltrated and hijacked by criminals with criminal intent, who are now engaged in looting and creating mayhem.
A youth leadership group from Trans Nzoia County has announced a plan to end protests in that county. The youth leaders, led by Anthony Nangalama, has urged other youths to stay away from protests due to criminal interruptions, which has led to destruction of property. They have also requested the government to give attention to the issues they have raised and in order to avoid more protests in future.
Tunaomba vijana wote Trans Nzoia County, please, Thursday msikuje kwa street because street saizi imechafuka. Magunzi wamejaa street, wanaibia watu masimu, wanathreaten kudunga watu, na pia wana inbox kwa simu yako, wanakuambia watakutafuta. So please, Thursday naomba vijana wote, Gen Z na millennials wenye wako wananisikiza siku ya leo, please mkae nyumbani, msikuje kwa street in Trans Nzoia County. Streets za Trans Nzoia sasa magunzi wamejaa ndani.
Yangu ni kumwomba rais wetu mpendwa Daktari William Samoei Arap Ruto kuwasikiza hawa the millennials and the Gen Zs. The millennials and the Gen Zs wako almost 30 million in Kenya. So I'm calling upon our beloved President, Mr. William Arap Ruto, to heed to the call of the young people of Kenya.
So many jobs zilikuwa looted kwa street, na viongozi wengi ambao wako kwa siasa walitumika. Hao ndio wenye walikuwa wana sponsor these goons, wenye walikuja na wakaingilia kwa hizi maandamano. Instead of making na sisi tukuwe na peaceful demonstration, ikakuwa sasa ni kama ni vita, wizi na kuuana. Hakuna maandamano itafanyika tena unless kama tutakuja na idea nyingine tofauti.
Clergy members from churches across Isiolo County have cautioned the government to adopt better ways of engaging the youth and to stop using brutal force on demonstrators. Led by the chairperson, Pastors Association, Reverend Justin Murungi, the clergy has sent their message of condolences to aggravated families. They also called on the police to stop using unnecessary force on demonstrators, while at the same time urging the Gen Zs to stop demonstrations to pave way for dialogue.
The Isiolo bishops and pastors have felt the need to echo other leaders in addressing the issues in Kenya at large. The first issue is about the county-wide demonstration. I take this opportunity to send our sympathies and condolences to the many young men who died in protest against the contradicting finance bill. Public participation should be taken seriously now and in the future to ensure full participation by all stakeholders, especially the youth, who are the majority as we speak. We also call upon our youth to always engage peacefully because we can't dare to lose another soul.
Now, according to research conducted in 2022 by Therese de Holmes organizations, 45% of school-going children and 59% non-goers are involved in child labor due to child neglect of 59% in Busia County. According to Evans Munga, the organization's project manager in Matayos and Teso North sub-counties, poverty is the major contributor of child labor activities. Esther Wasinge, the county Deputy Director of Children's Services, spoke with journalists and said that neglect statistics in the county has risen to 59% in 2024 from 58% in 2023. Commissioner Nancy Jebet is calling upon both Kenya and Ugandan governments to collaborate in curbing child labor transboundary.
Like neglect, like the Director of Children's Services has mentioned, that we have some of the cases of child neglect being leading, and that's one of the areas. When you look at that deeply, you understand that there will be issues of parenting from home.
Sababu tumehamasisha jamii sana. Kwa hivyo jamii wamejua kwamba wakipata mtoto anaumia wataripoti. Lakini pia inaripotiwa kwa sababu utapata labda kesi ya mtoto ambaye ameajiriwa inakuja kama child neglect.
Pia ni kwamba katika Busia kuna visa vingi sana vya watoto kuachwa, kuhusishwa katika ajira, na ndio maana sasa sisi kama wanahabari, it's our responsibility, ni jukumu letu kuweza kujua, kuhamasisha umma.
Bali tunataka kuwahimiza ni ya kwamba tutatumia ujuzi na mafunzo ambayo tumepokea kuweza kusaidia katika kupigana na vita dhidi ya dhuluma za watoto na pengine masuala ya child labor.
SUPKEM leaders, led by their chairperson, has criticized the government response towards the ongoing protest, saying that the Gen Z's-led protest is constitutionally right. Additionally, they have noted that issues raised by Gen Z's are reasons every Kenyan would want addressed. Additionally, they have asked the Gen Z's to re-strategize, claiming that their peaceful protests have been infiltrated.
We are saddened by the overzealous of the police, who have and continue to use unnecessary and excessive force on the peaceful demonstrators. In the contrast, and tragically, we have seen same police officers stand by as hooligans, rampage, loot and destroy private property. As a sign of leadership and patriotism, we urge Your Excellency to unequivocally and publicly rein in the rogue police officers and restrain them from harming, arresting or kidnapping peaceful protesters. We urge you to release those in police custody or just missing, and for the state to underwrite and meet the cost of those protesters in hospitals and provide assistance to families in the burials of those slain by the police. Such, of course, action will demonstrate goodwill and empathy on your part as the head of state. Mr. President, our youth are seeking and demanding actions on theft, on raft of issues they have raised. They are not interested in multi-sectoral forum to dialogue over things and issues which are quite apparent and within your means to do or to initiate within the premise of our laws and constitution. Specifically, we urge you to take the following actions. A, undertake an overarching reorganization of your government by, among other things, trim down the size of your cabinet to 14. Rid your cabinet and government in general of those functionaries named in corruption, waste, fraud, and abuse of public resources. Immediately reconstitute IEBC. Undertake and facilitate the audit of our public debt, enabling public participation in an inclusive, transparent, and accountable manner. Provide leadership for the prosecution of corrupt individuals at all levels of government. Kenyans need to see heads rolling. Remove all unconstitutional offices. In conclusion, we empathize with our nation especially with our youth, who are wounded and mourn with the families of the death and fallen vanguards in our youth and GNCs. We Muslim leaders and the entire Muslim community remain available to provide counsel, advice, and any assistance within our means. We pray and beseech the Almighty Allah, Lord of the heavens and earth, to salvage our nation, Kenya, and grant us His infinite mercy and peace to this nation and her people. Our message to Gen Zs. You represent the feelings, the spirit, and the rage and aspirations of an overwhelming majority of the Kenyan people. We share your frustrations, agony, and pain. We empathize with you on the suffering and maiming and those amongst you in the struggle who have been killed. Our prayers are with you, and we stand in solidarity with you in this struggle. Whilst we urge you not to relent in your legitimate struggle, which is personified by your own brand and character, we must seize the moment and opportunity that are thrust upon you by the circumstances of the moment. As you will no doubt agree with us, endless protest cannot be an end in itself. Rather, it is a means to a well-defined end which must be realistic, achievable, and within confines of the law. Sadly, as was not expected, hooligans and anarchists.
Over the weekend, a group of U.S. investors led by Olubunmi Jinadu, who was key organizer in the U.S. Atlanta, Georgia Business Forums in the recent U.S. state tour led by the president, were in the country on a fact-finding mission of engaging with key stakeholders like the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, KNCCI. Speaking to the media in a Nairobi hotel, Jinadu expressed optimism with some investors from the U.S. who have keen interest with working with some local innovative companies, one of them being Avovig Health, led by Kenyan-American Nathan Lloyd in the agribusiness and horticultural sector.
Avovig is one out of 100 companies that I see potential in the whole of Kenya. A team in the USA who are interested in investing in Kenya. So we happen to have a discussion today to see how we can make that possible here at Avovig. Our main commodity here at Avovig is avocado. So we have a lot of losses in terms of post-harvest losses in avocado in our industry. So we are looking to go that extra mile in value addition. So we were thinking in the lines of avocado oil, processed. As a company doing avocado, is an example of that Kenyan excellence that we want to take to the world. Okay, the way they're packaging their stuff, the way their processes are, the whole 9 yards. That was one of the reasons why you saw a group of investors coming in.
The Kenyan government plans to partner with the European Union, EU, in order to have stakeholders who will invest in marine and blue economy. Speaking at the second Congress of Blue Invest Africa that is taking place in Diale, Kwale County, the Cabinet Secretary for Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs, Salim Mvurya, has stated that the partnership will contribute to the growth of the blue economy and will also create jobs for the residents of the coastal region.
Say that we will have a brief...
By investing in these sectors, we can provide sustainable livelihoods and reduce the economic disparities that exist within our society. Ladies and gentlemen, the importance of investing in our blue economy cannot be overstated. Investment is the lifeblood that will fuel the growth and sustainability of this sector. It is through strategic investments that we can unlock the full potential of our oceans and inland waters, creating a robust framework for economic development.
Kwale County presents several opportunities within the blue economy due to its proximity to the Indian Ocean and rich marine resources. Some of the potential opportunities include marine fisheries, aquaculture, coastal tourism, marine renewable energy, marine biotechnology, and waste management.
In Africa, the blue economy generates a staggering $300 billion in revenue per year and sustains 50 million jobs.
The Sustainable Development Goals Kenya Forum has launched the Civil Society Organization's Voluntary National Review Report 2024 in an event that brought together a diverse group of stakeholders. The report highlights Kenya's progress and dedication to achieving the SDGs. The key objectives of the report are meant to highlight Kenya's advancements on the SDGs since the last report in 2020, while emphasizing both successes and challenges. The report will also reinforce the role of various groups in the SDG process, ensuring their continued participation and support, and will provide an account of the steps taken and the journey ahead.
This report is a culmination of a multi-stakeholder consultation that brought together over 60 civil society organizations from diverse sectors to reflect on your journey in the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals in Kenya.
Also the ones who still allocate budgets. So when we say that SDGs are really lagging behind, we need to look at what is the gap. Is there a policy, is there a budget gap? And then address it.
Voices of marginalized groups and providing actionable recommendations to bridge gaps and accelerate progress. It reflects our commitment to ensuring that no one is left behind.
Now, Homa Bay County Governor Gladys Wanga has warned young people against invading and looting businesses during the Gen Z protests. Speaking at Rusinga Island, Governor Wanga has also cautioned protesters against disturbing the peace of passengers and other citizens who are not in favor of the demonstrations. Wanga has urged the police to identify the culprits, noting that criminals have infiltrated the peaceful demonstrations.
Demonstrations that were started by our Gen Z are very, very useful tools of our democracy, and they are protected under the Constitution. And therefore, our young people are entitled to exercise their democratic right to demonstrate, assemble peaceably and unarmed. And we expect the police to escort them and give them full protection, and also protect the lives and property of those who may not necessarily be participating. On the flip side, what I would like to tell our young people that we are fully behind them, but they must be aware of rogue elements who are now hijacking these protests and making them a platform to harass our women, our traders, steal from them, and perform acts that we would not like on our people. If we take things from our own people, then really we will be setting ourselves up against the people. So our young people must look out at all times for thugs and rogue elements who are pretending to be demonstrating, yet using this opportunity to steal and mug and defile our people.
A group of Generation Z demonstrators in Homa Bay County have expressed a strong condemnation against those infiltrating their peaceful protests. The youth have emphasized their commitment to maintaining peace and have now called on the community to support their cause, urging the public to donate blood for those who were injured during the demonstrations and are currently receiving treatment in hospital.
Have been demos, and in these demonstrations there are some people who have come with their different intentions. They are blocking the roads, collecting money from the cars that are passing by. Then during the midday utapata hao watu wanatembea kwa streets, wanaingia kwa duka zenye zimefunguliwa shouting, why are you doing your businesses while we are demonstrating? Things that us as Gen Zs, we never intended to, right? So at Gen Zs, we are peaceful, and we wanted our demos to be peaceful and not interfere with any other people's businesses, right? Secondly, there are some people who were shot during the previous demonstrations on Thursday. These people are there in the hospitals and they need some blood donations. I was asking the members of Homa Bay County, kindly, if you can donate blood for these people, they need you.
There are our sisters and there are also our fathers, some of them.